Well, hey everyone, how's it going? Sean here with another GP vlog video. In this particular video, I am going to be showing you these cool gauges from Speed Hut. This is not a sponsored video. I did not get any sponsorship from Speed Hut, but I do have a pair of Speed Hut, soon to be a trio of Speed Hut gauges for the Grand Prix. Now, I am a huge fan of analog gauges. And one of the critical things to me is being able to monitor oil pressure and trans temp. And what I actually have here is I do have a trans temp gauge as well as an oil pressure gauge here. I have a third gauge. It's going to be a volt gauge. Unfortunately, Speed Hut doesn't make any other type of gauge that is useful for me. So I figured, well, I've got a 3 gauge pod, a pillar pod, so I might as well throw in a third, just for kind of looks and stuff like that. But these are custom gauges. Speed Hut does customize the gauges. You can add logos, you can change the needle style, color, all sorts of other things. And so I customized these to closely match, not perfectly, but closely match the Pontiac instrument cluster, particularly in the Grand Prix. Now, these are CAN bus gauges. So when I was first looking at analog gauges, basically I would have to have some kind of an adapter, such as for oil pressure, I would need to have one of those oil pressure filter adapters and then run the wiring through the firewall, things like that. I wasn't really interested. There's also another option where you can use a splice. It's a special splice kit to splice into the oil pressure sending unit to be able to send that information to the gauge. I wasn't really too thrilled about doing something like that. It's fine, but for me and my personal preferences, I wanted something that was going to be more of a plug and play. And there's another company, I can't remember their name, but they also make gauges that are CAN bus or OBD gauges that just plug in, but they're digital. And I really like the look of an analog gauge, even if it's a fake analog where, it's a digital needle, digital this, that, the other thing. I just don't like the digital numbers giving me, 12.8 for voltage. I'd rather see the needle pointed at 12.8. That's just a personal preference. Not everybody's like that. But for me, I found Speed Hut, and I was thrilled to see that they customize gauges. I really mean customize their gauges. And you can daisy chain the gauges. And I realize this video is dark because I'm going to demonstrate these being lit up here, so that's why it's dark right now. But you can daisy chain these together. Unfortunately, the downside is that while this is a CAN bus connector, you must have CAN bus, and in a lot of cases, you have to have GM vehicles in order to get this to actually work. So it will actually prevent you from being able to connect other stuff such as an OBD reader. So if you needed to diagnose anything, you would have to unplug this, then plug that in. So you can't have multiple things plugged in, unfortunately. So there are some downsides, but I don't really care. I can unplug it whenever I need to. If I need to get it, up on a scan gauge or whatever, no big deal. My whole thing was being able to just plug this in, get 12 volts as far as the actual input, 12 volts from the ignition, and then 12 volts lighting so that it lights up the cluster and so on. And then I would have a beautiful set of analog gauges. Now, I will say one of the things that I'm just a tad disappointed with is the amount of sweep these things have. The sweep itself isn't too bad, but this goes all the way up to 300 degrees. I was hoping that there was a way that they could take that to, maybe 250 or 240 even, because I don't really need something that goes all the way up to 300. What's really nice, though, is it does have a warning light on here where I can set the warning light. So if I'm not paying attention or whatever, which I know that I will be, but at any rate, this light will come on and it will warn me. I'll probably have it set to something like 190, 195, something around that area. I don't know. I'll probably adjust it, but it'd be nice because if I'm not paying attention and the temperature reaches a certain point, then it'll light this up and it will obviously alert me that I've got a problem. Same with the oil pressure. Again, oil pressure goes all the way up to 100 psi when I probably won't be seeing anything over about 60, maybe 70. It's probably going to hover in the 30 to 40 to maybe 50 range. So yeah, they don't customize it in that way where you can say, okay, I need a maximum of 80 psi, because the gauge, the oil pressure gauge, is going to sit in this area over here, so it's not even going to move that far. Same with the temperature, the trans temp temperature. It starts at 150, and I would really like to see it start at maybe 100 or something like that, but it's actually 140. But anyway, so it's only going to sweep up to about this area right here, right around 180. So yeah, that's a little bit of a disappointment, but it sure does beat having, for me, in my personal preference, it sure does beat having a fully digital gauge. So minor complaints aside, let's go ahead and power this up. Now, you do have to have a special inverter for lighting the needle, and you do need a special harness, and I'm going to have to tap into, obviously, 12-volt ignition, which is easy to do, and then I have to find 12-volt lighting, which I think I'll use the center console as my power source for the actual lighting. Let's go ahead and power it on so you can see. It does do a sweep, which I think is awesome. So you can see how beautiful and bright these are. Of course, it's probably harder to tell on camera, but yeah, beautiful and bright. So pretty cool. Definitely looking forward to getting these installed. Of course, I will get more videos on that, pillar pod install, etc., etc. But yeah, just wanted to show you guys what I will be rocking here pretty soon when I do get the car back up and running. If you have any questions, obviously let me know, and take care.